we stumbled across, shouldn't say received, we stumbled across a concern from someone on Twitter around Libero slash Libera. And of course, we did the Libero analysis very recently just to kind of break down exactly what that was doing. And this person on Twitter, basically, I don't have any concerns with what he's saying. He brought up a good point, and I want to kind of talk it through and explain it from my perspective because I think he's correct and the concern is valid, but I think he may be missing it unless he's one of those that the liberal team is trying to deal with. So, user Henry, Scorpio Henry says, all current Libero holders will have to pay 30% tax to wrap their Libero, with no date on when the tax will drop to 10%. Make to 10% now for all current Libero holders or waive the tax for current Libero holders. I want to break this down. So when he's talking about the 30% tax to wrap, WRAP, the Libero, the action I referred to in the other video, there's allegedly going to be a D app, and in the D app, you're going to be able to wrap your Libero to Libera. Well, in order to address Scorpio Henry's concern, I think it's important that we break down in, I'll say, a lean methodology strategy, and we need to start asking some questions. Number one, if you're going to fit in one of these two categories, you're either a Libero holder or you're not, right? Let's start with the ones, because he's talking about the ones that are holders. Let's start with the ones who hold Libero. Let's start asking the question, why would you wrap your existing Libero to Libera? And I came back, and as much as I thought about it, I could only come with two potential outcomes. Number one, you would like to sell the Libera and profit off the sale. Basically, you are selling your bag, but potentially at a higher return because the expectation is that Libera is going to be worth more. So here's the analogy there. Let's say, like right now, Libero has 2 zeros in front of it. And it's trending slightly downward, but it's starting to hit its consolidation, and there's an expectation it's going to start jumping. But it's less than a penny. Bottom line is it's less than a penny. Let's say that you had, just for simplicity of numbers, mind you, obviously you're going to need to work with bigger numbers, but for simplicity of numbers, let's assume that Libero was a penny. It's not, but let's assume that it was. Let's assume that you had 100 Libero at a penny. So that would be $1, right? The current expected rate, and there's a dashboard that tells you this, expected rate for Libera when it launches is just shy of the dollar mark based on the index and everything they got. So now use your math, take your 100, so 100 a penny, multiply that 100 times however much people have to get to whatever their bag's going to be. You could imagine a situation where when Libera launches, it's immediately going to skyrocket. Libero should climb, but nowhere near as fast as Libera because Libero would not have been unwrapped at that point. So if it's still wrapped in Libera, the Libero would not have had an opportunity to have been transacted at that point. So my theory, and this is just based on the mechanics I see, Libera would skyrocket straight away because it's an individual token that's independently traded. The Libero that's wrapped inside of it would not immediately skyrocket. It would kind of gradually go up. So you could have kind of this arbitrage situation, right? Of, okay, I got, let's say 10 Libera and I'm just kind of day trading it and I'm waiting for the pumps and then I'm selling out the profit and I'm doing this over and over again. And you get all this. And now at some point you say, all right, cool. Now I was able to accumulate through buys and sells of dips and climbs. Now I turn my 10 Libera into 100. I'm making random numbers up just to kind of put it in perspective. So if I got now this, I turn this 10 into 100 off the amount that I put in up front, because the price would have been higher than their bags of Libero. My theory is the only reason you'd want to have wrapped is to get in on that. You'd want to get your Libera in there from day one so that you can exploit the initial pump that we expect to happen, then unwrap it out the back so that you can get the rewards. And you don't really even care about the holding aspect. That's my theory, because I can't think of any other reason that you would want to wrap your Libero from the jump, especially if it's going to be available on the exchange. It seems like it would make better sense to just buy Libera to the side of Libero and let your Libero sit there. Or even better, if you really don't care about your Libero, just straight sell your Libero. And if you sell it through the thorium exchange, you're basically paying no gas. Well, you're paying gas, but it's not, there's no extra fees, I should say. Sell off there and then buy the Libera, or do something else where you're buying the Libera directly from the exchange. That seems like it makes better sense to me, because it doesn't, to me, it doesn't equate why you would take something that, as I said in my analogy, is equated to the penny level so that you can buy into the dollar level. That doesn't make any sense to me. It makes better sense to me that you would keep the Libero off to the side, you would buy into Libera, and then later, after the value of Libero has climbed, then you would unwrap the Libera. But by that point, the fee to unwrap, which he misrepresented as 30, apparently it's 16. But that fee, it's like change. You wouldn't even care, because Libero would have already climbed to such a degree. If you had, again, using my 100 situation, if you had already had hundreds in the thing, you're not going to care about the chump change it would take to then cash that out later after you got the returns. But if you're just thinking, okay, I'll just take my Libero, I'm going to wrap it up to Libera immediately off the jump, I don't know why you would do that. It doesn't mean you can't, but it doesn't mathematically make any sense to me, because, again, Libero is still down. So if you took your Libero and you wrapped it in Libera, you're working off of a loss. You're losing the rewards that your Libero had already been giving you to go into Libera that's fresh out the gate and hasn't started, or has started trading initially, potentially could climb. We expect it should climb, only to unwrap it again. Why would you do that? Like, think about it. If Libero's right now, and we expect for the short-term future, Libero's at its base point. If Libero's at its base point, think of what your goal is. Is your goal to get more Libero at a discount? You might as well use the bond feature, which I haven't even talked about. You might as well use the bond, buy it at an 8% or 10% discount straight off the Libero bank. Or just buy Libero straight while it's on the dip and just keep buying off the dip and wait on it. Because here's the thing. Once Libero starts climbing again, you're going to make more off of the climb profits than you would trying to do this arbitrage that he's describing. I just personally feel like if that was his go-in strategy, he missed something, because I don't know why you would do that. I personally don't. The other reason you might want to wrap your Libero would be to get Libera rewards fresh out the gate. Like, say, I gave the analogy even that you might say, okay, I got 50,000, I did different numbers, but 50,000 Libero, and I'm going to just wrap half of it to get rewards off Libera. Well, sure. But that's because I'm taking half of it that it's throwaway. For me, it's throwaway. It doesn't matter. Now, in my case, all of my Libero is locked in the Libero bank. I couldn't do that if I wanted. I'm assuming you're not going to be able to wrap what's already been committed into the bank, which means it'd be net new purchase anyway. So if I wanted to get the Libera rewards, like, say, Scorpio Henry has his Libero in his wallet, then yes, you would eat the fee to wrap it if you, for whatever reason, didn't feel inclined to buy it from the exchange. Once again, I question why you wouldn't just buy it from the exchange separate from your existing Libero, because to me, it doesn't make any sense to take any action on your existing Libero right now, especially not up front, because what it appears they're trying to do is manage the immediate pumps and dumps and the whale sell-offs that have harmed many other projects. That's why there's a high enough tax. However, they don't stop you. They don't stop you from doing the trade. So that, as the short circuit, I think is what it's referring to, you got to consider that if you are one of those who just wants to pump and dump the thing, I would argue that Libero isn't even for you, because at that point, I question why you're not in Seifu, because that's what that's for. Pump and dump, make a little bit of money, and then dump it when it craps again. The Libero they tell you straight up, it's designed to take profits in incremental chunks. They even built a button to do that. And it's designed for holding, and it's designed for passive. Like, there's no way that you can miss on their site. That the one thing they did do, their site is pretty adamant clear. They're designed for passive rewards and passive money, not for the pump and dump. So there's no reason, in my mind, that you would wrap up front, because all you're doing is putting yourself at a greater loss, because Libero's down. Even when Libero was up, you're still potentially at a loss, because Libero would have gone up too. You might argue that if I'm in the thing for $10,000, you don't really care then about the 30%. If you're that wealthy, you probably don't care, but you're likely not that wealthy. So then I would question why you would spend like that just to get Libera. Like, think about it. If all I want to do is get my hand on Libera, just go buy the Libera straight, separate. Why even touch your existing Libero? Leave it alone. Your Libero is not going anywhere. Maybe that was a misunderstanding. Maybe he might have assumed that your Libero is going to go away or that they're discontinuing it. I'm pretty sure I didn't leave that impression. I don't know where he got it from. If that's the case, I hope not. But they never said anything that would, for me, logically justify why I would wrap the Libero up front. I don't see any. I've thought about it for a long time, and I cannot wrap my head around under what circumstance I would ever wrap the Libero up front, because if I just wanted Libera, I would buy it. If I wanted it for the rewards, I would buy it. If I wanted to buy and sell, I would buy it. I would treat it as a separate coin, because that's what it is, a separate token. I wouldn't treat it as a replacement for Libero. If I knew that I wanted to go all in with Libera and I didn't want to care about Libero, I would buy the Libera that I wanted. Then I would basically sell back the Libero that I had through the thorium exchange and be done with it. I mean, that'd be the same thing. I still don't know why you would do that either, because you're going to get hit with those fees, at least a little bit, if you do a dump. To me, I don't know. So I guess boil it down. Let's ask 3 questions. And I'm not asking for answers. I'm just saying that when you go through this analysis yourself, what I want you to take away, don't react to sticker shock. Sticker shock is the biggest enemy you have in cryptocurrency. And when I say sticker shock, I mean positive and negative. The sky high APY that's unrealistic and whatever, ignore it. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. The 6-figure APYs, it doesn't matter. Fees to do things. I argue they matter, but only when you're transacting. So start with our questions. And I think it's 3 questions that you should always ask yourself. Number 1, why am I in this project in the first place? You should have 1 sentence to be able to answer that question I just asked. Why am I in the project? If the project is telling you, we are here for passive income, we're here to basically give you passive income on a regular basis, and we even give you a button that lets you cash out 1% of it, or we give you a bank that'll just give you Binance rewards that you can cash out whenever you want, but they're in like 25 different places on their site. They straight tell you, we're here to give you passive income. If that's incompatible with what you're trying to do, I question why you're in the project. Because if you're just trying to pump and dump it, Safewoo is probably a better fit, because that's what it's designed to do. If you look at its chart, that's what it was designed to do. It launched at like $10. It irreparably jumped to $330. People got wrecked on the way down. It crapped to $150, and now it's wavering around $150. And it goes somewhere between $190 or $200 and down to $160 or so. So now you can make incremental bits of $10 or $20 here per coin, and you can pump and dump it all you care to. Rich Quack is almost designed to pump and dump it. Like, there are coins designed for pump and dump if that's what you want to do. My point is, if your answer to that question of why I'm in the project is you're trying to get a quick buck profit off of it, I question why that's your motivation when they straight tell you it's here for passive income. If the concern is, and this is question number 2, if the concern is around the passive income and trying to maximize the passive income, question number 2 should be, how do I want to get the passive income rewards? If we say that we're just trying to compound everything all left and right, then it begs the question why you would want to wrap up front, because that would do the opposite of what you would want to achieve. It wouldn't make any sense. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, if you're trying to maximize rewards, why would you ever want the Libero to go away? That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't think that was his motivation, but I'm saying you should ask that question of yourself. Is it that I'm trying to maximize rewards? Wrapping your Libero up front does the opposite of that, because you're losing the rewards the Libero by itself gives you that they still would give you. The Libero by itself rewards are not removed or replaced by Libera. Thus, it doesn't make sense to wrap the Libero, because you're doing the opposite of compounding. Just make sure you answer that question, and hopefully you have a logical answer. The third question you should ask is, the fees that they're asking for things, have you really understood when and why these fees apply? And the reason I'm saying this is because a lot of times people get into projects and they immediately get turned off when there's a fee. They don't understand whale management mechanics. And this is because I would argue nobody in YouTube influencer land uses that term like I do. A whale management mechanic is, no, I don't want to see that a whale is blocked from doing something. I want to see that we manage them correctly, because they contribute to the price movement just like everybody else. So when we're talking these fees to do the wrapping, Well, that's because my theory is it's because they know that the only reason, logical reason that you would wrap straight up the gate is to sell your Libero at a profit via the Libera mechanism. That has a risk of harming the project. It has a risk because you're pumping and dumping Libera, and by virtue, you're potentially pumping and dumping Libero. That has a potential to harm the project. I suspect that's why they have that there, to discourage people from just jumping to another thing. It'd be the same thing as, and this happened too, sitting on Libero, it goes, does whatever it does. They announced F Libero, which I had issues with, and then what do we see? We started seeing Libero go down and F Libero start to go up. Well, what was that coming? Some sort of arbitrage where people were taking their money from Libero and buying into F Libero to take advantage of the initial pump. This strikes me as their attempt to kind of corral that and cut it off at the pass. If you're one of those that was going after passive rewards, you should actually be appreciating they thought that far, if my theory is correct. You wouldn't want people to dump off of it just because it's a new thing. And that's what tends to happen with a lot of tokens. It's a new something, so they'll initially FOMO into the darn thing, even at the expense of everybody else trading off the project. Now, of course, I would argue, and this is just me, anybody that's in the project that was watching that Binance USD APR go past 630% is probably saying, you know what, man, tank, dude, go ahead and tank because I'm just getting paid up here. Because I think that was, for those that understand basis, which will be another video I'm going to do here, for those that understand basis, I think it's like, okay, let it go down. That's cool. But Libera is a different beast because Libera, we also want to make sure that there's more purchases of it than sells. Why? Because if we get more purchases of it, remember, it's a constrained inventory. So we want more happening with it than sells. We don't want a bunch of non-circulating Libera. We want it to really be hot and heavy because if it's really hot and heavy, that's going to jump the price on both of these. I suspect that the reason that they're so high on the fees, and arguably they're not crazy high compared to what I've seen, but also think about, again, you can buy them from an exchange. There's no reason to pay the wrap fee to wrap your existing Libero and lose the benefits of your existing Libero. You're just robbing your own pocket at that point. This is my stance. This is how I feel about it. I would love to smoke. If anybody can come at me with any logical reason other than trying to pump and dump it, that you would want to wrap your Libero up front, I want to hear it. Because if we agree, what I'm saying, that there's no logical reason to wrap up front, that fee is moot. It doesn't affect you. If you take the stance of passive income, the only logical answer would be to buy more Libera from the exchange in parallel to the Libero you already held, put your Libero in the bank, wait for Libera bank to launch, put that in the bank, and then, like I said, create separate streams of a thing. Because once you get to the point that it's all generating the passives, let's say you get to the point that you're making $400 of passive every day, right? Are you really going to balk because you're losing $20 or $30 of passive? Are you really going to balk because your transaction is going to cost you $50? I think people are so focused on the upfront sticker shock, they're not thinking about what are we really losing here. That's my gut speaking. I want the smoke. If somebody can justify it to me and explain it to me in some form that makes sense, I'm all on it. I'm so confident that what I'm thinking is correct, that there's no logic to wrapping the Libero. If enough people demand it, I'll even go live and we could chat it out. We could debate it because I don't understand anybody that would want to wrap it immediately. I don't know why. I don't know why you would do that. Help me out, folks.